Not the non-manuals, has nothing to do with non-manuals, I'm talking about these signs. No, what's the placement of no? Here. When you are working, your placement has to be here. That's a crisp, clear, formal sign. One other sign that I produced incorrectly. I did have, with one hand. Have is a two-handed sign, always. This is casual. Having a casual conversation. Casual. You can do it with a casual conversation. When you're working, it has to be beautiful, crisp, clear sign production. So you're looking at your own sign production to make sure that it is being produced formally. Good? And then with that, you know, facial expressions, head nods, body shifts, when you're doing all of that. If your goal and your target is ASL, all of those appropriate features or parameters of production need to be present. Good? And there's a difference between understanding what someone is signing and doing it formally. This is the problem that I always have with this program. And I love all the teachers that we have here, don't get me wrong. But when your ASL teachers understand you, they don't often correct those little tiny errors that you're making in production. Because they understand you, and it's all about communication. But you're learning a language at the same time. So if you were learning Spanish or French, you would have to clearly articulate and produce that word. So I have to struggle all the time. So then you come into consecutive interpreting with me, and I'm like, that's not formal, that's casual conversation. Well, but nobody ever told me, or I've always signed it like this. I thought this was the sign. Nope, it's... So you're going to get a lot of kind of backlash, maybe, in consecutive, where whoever your instructor is saying, that's not how you produce it, that's not how you produce it. But better to finally get corrected on it than to never get corrected on it, right? But it's a struggle that we have here because it's all about communication. And you can communicate with your deaf instructors and they understand you and your point. So they don't always correct everything, and then sometimes we get bad habits. All right, so if we're going from ASL into spoken English, our volume, pitch, intonation, articulation, pronunciation must be formal, clean, crisp, and intelligible. Good? This is where we have those problems of, you know, you guys, and I was like, oh, they come out all the time. Because it's not often, how often do we talk formally? We don't talk formally very often. But when we're interpreting, when we're called to interpret, it has to be crystal clear. So we listen for those kind of things and then mark ourselves when we forget.
I noticed in one of my classes that when the interpreter, it only happened one time, she made an error in what she was saying, but the teacher didn't make the error. So she went ahead and said, oh, that was an interpreter error. Would you say you recommend doing that?
Oftentimes, no, it's not necessary. It kind of throws a wrench into the whole flow and the pace of everything. If it was an egregious error, if it was something where everything needed to be stopped and you have to go back and really explain or clarify something if the interpreter got it way off, then yes, you might say something and let everybody know. But if you just mispronounce something, just fix it and go on. Yeah. Remember last week we talked about the judgment that people make about speakers? I forgot what we were talking about. Anyways, metatonative qualities. If it's just one tiny simple error and you just correct it and go on, well, maybe the audience might think that they made the error, but it's a little tiny error. They're not going to make a massive judgment on a person for saying one little tiny error. But by saying, ooh, interpreter error, or you throw a wrench in it. And the reason why is you recognize it. You remember it because it's stuck out like a sore thumb to you. You don't want to do that to the speaker. You want the audience to keep going and flowing. Does that make sense? Any other questions or comments? Cool. we need to have enough process time or lag time where we're just standing here listening to a whole chunk of information so that it makes sense to us, that we can reformulate it into ASL and produce it. The problem with that process time and that lag time that we need to do that is that we only have a short-term memory capacity of about 10 to 15 seconds. So the longer we wait to try to process the information, the more it decays and it goes away and we forget what it is that we're trying to convey. So we need to wait so that we get a whole chunk of information, think about how we're going to formulate it in the target, and then put it out nice and smooth. When we don't, if you were to turn your heads and look back, you'd probably see several examples of people who pick up their hands after I say one word and they want to start signing. Then they have to hold and wait for me to catch up. Then they sign 2 more words. And now they're stuck in midair, waiting for the next thing I want to say, okay, instead of just standing and waiting. If you just stand and wait and get a whole concept, then when you go to produce it, beautiful. But if you rush the process, you're going to pick up your hands, you hear one word. Yesterday, I went. Every time you pause, it's actually a period. You've completed a sentence, and if it's an incomplete sentence, it's called a fragment, and it makes no sense. Good. So that's that part of the interpreting process that is the most challenging and most difficult. We're talking about the tenses and going through them. It's the most difficult for us because we're afraid we're going to lose the information or forget it. So we want to pick up our hands and we want to start signing and transferring that meaning as soon as we can, but you've heard people speak before. You've listened to lectures a million times. How many times do you tally mark every time the teacher says, or you guys, we do crazy things when we listen to speakers sometimes. And they'll start to say something, then make a mistake and go back and correct themselves, and you're kind of stuck here in this middle with your hands up. Just wait. Wait. It's hard. We don't like silence. We don't like to stand here in front of everybody and not pick our hands up. So a really easy thing is just look at the presenter until they've gotten out a full, complete thought. And then go ahead and put it out nice and smooth. Make sense? It's really hard to watch, too, if someone is start, you can have a concept and then you gotta wait and pause. And when you're searching for signs, what's the sign for? That means you didn't plan it out beforehand. You're in the middle of signing it when you realize you need a new sign for a new word, but you can't remember what it is. You should never get to that point. You need to stop and plan out how you're going to express the concept first. And if you don't have a sign for it, create a new sentence with the signs that you have. Oh, I can say it this way because I know those signs. Then you don't stop and stutter in between. Good? So both ASL to English and English to ASL, we're looking at the flow. Does it flow? Is it a nice pace? Is it easy to watch? Is it easy to listen to? Good? Questions about that? No? All right. Is it grammatically correct? Meaning, is the grammar in the appropriate language? For all of you sitting here right here with me, your target language for this class is always going to be ASL. Well, spoken English to ASL. You might go from ASL to spoken English, but ASL. They're practicing transliterating some of them back then for some big tests that are coming up. You'll get there. Right now, you need to solidify your ASL. There are 5 sentence types in ASL. What are they? Negation, topic, comment, questions, commands, and rhetoricals are kind of questions. Conditional, if then. Nice. Those are the only type of sentences you should be using. If you are staying in an English order and I say 2 words and you start to sign those 2 words, You're in English, you're not even in ASL. That's where you have to wait for a whole thought and concept. Once you get it, then you can change it and pick the appropriate ASL sentence type. Good? So, spoken English or ASL, depending on what your target is. It must be